Hi everyone, today I wanted to show you some basic brush strokes that we can do with a flat brush, and those are useful no matter what painting idea you have. They're just basic brush strokes that you can use even if you are a beginner. And I'm going to use a very simple also brush, size 6 flat brush with short handle. Now when we have a flat brush, and the shapes of brushes, they are normally referring to the head of the brush, right? And we have the toe of the brush, which for the flats are the chisel, this one, and we have the body of the brush, and here it is a wide white belly, and depending on the size of the brush, this will be wider and wider and wider, or narrower and narrower. But also, the flat brushes can be called bright brushes when the head is a little bit shorter, and it's better for a very precise and expressive brush strokes. And what we can do first, I'm showing all these brush strokes with acrylic. And the first thing we need to understand is, again, the brush strokes that we are using with any types of brushes, they are determined by the head and the options that the head offers us. So here, as we discovered, we have two options: either use, and with any other brush, either use the body of the brush or use the tip of the brush. And those are two basic brush strokes for any brush. Then you can discover more complex brush strokes. And when you use the tip of the brush, the tip of the flat brush, you can do lines. You just hold your brush vertically or horizontally if it's more convenient to you, and you can make a nice, very thin line. And this is the first type of the brush stroke. The second type of the brush stroke is when we don't use the tip of the brush, but we are using the body of the brush, the belly. And in this case, it will be a wide brush stroke, like this. And when we're using a wet brush and we add a little bit of water to our paint, we get a wide stroke with good coverage. The drier the brush becomes, or if we're using directly a dry brushing technique, the coverage will stay as wide as our brush, but it will not get the same coverage as when we use water. So water gives us a smoother, nicer brush stroke and better coverage, but both can be used depending on what you're doing. For example, for abstracts, I often use dry brush and the belly of the brush, the body of the brush. And now we can combine these applications, either holding the brush vertically or holding the brush flat, to do any other types of strokes. So first, what we can do is to do a sort of comma with a brush. To do this, we combine both using the tip of the brush and the belly. So first, you make your brush stand on the toe, and then you drag it like in a semicircle, applying some pressure, and then you lift it again, leaving only the tip of the brush touching the paper. So here, the tip of the brush touches the paper. For this part, the body of the brush touches the paper, and then we lift it again, and only the tip touches the paper. And of course, this can be used to do petals, for coloring, and for any other even abstract shapes that you have. But it doesn't always have to be to the right, of course. It can be also done to the left. It is the same. I need more water, I think, more color. It is the same principle. First the tip of the brush, then the body of the brush slides, and then again only the tip. And as you can see, you can make them shorter, you can make them bigger, and depending on the size of the brush and how well you lift your brush, the end of the comma can be more pronounced, narrow, or can be wider. To do the same kind of petal comma with Another variation is when we only use the narrow side of the brush. We don't use the wide side of the brush, so we don't position our brush like this. We turn our brush and position it like this. I find this more challenging in the beginning, but when you get used to it and you train a few commas / petals like this, it becomes easier. So what we are doing, we are using the corner of the brush, the bottom corner, we set it on the paper, we push, we make a stroke, and then we slowly become more vertical. And it's harder to do it slower, it's easier to do it faster, but again, and as you can see, we did not turn or twist our brush in any way. And the same way you can do not just the straight petals, commas, but also a little curved ones. And it looks similar to these petals, but much smaller, so it can also be a leaf on a flower. We push, we pull, and then just the tip. Okay. The next, we can do like U letters or semi-cylinders or the full cylinders later on we can do with them. And there are two ways we can make this happen. We set the brush on the narrow side and we just pull it like an arch, and we go back to the narrow side. And we can do the same but upside down. And if we connect them, it can be like a cylinder, if you need to make a cylinder, of course. Those are U-shape brushstrokes. Probably one of the easiest brushstrokes we can do with a flat brush, it's the S kind of shape. It looks like S letters. What we doing, it's again, we're using both the narrow and the wide side of the brush. First, you set your brush on the narrow side on paper. You drag it like you're making the letter S, and then you go back to the narrow side. We slide, narrow part, a little curve, going down, a little curve, narrow part. The other side, same way, narrow part, a little slide, going down like the letter S, curve, narrow part. And those also can be used to do petals in flowers or the leaves on the flowers. And one of the unique brush strokes that we can do with a flat brush, and that opens up a whole technique that is like a one-stroke paintings. If you saw them, mostly those are flowers like beautiful peonies, roses, any flowers, even fantasy flowers. And this is because we have a wide space to load the brush, and we have two corners, so we can load two colors on the same brush for one brush stroke. And what we do is we load one corner with, say, red color, and the other side with, say, yellow color, or any other color. White color also can be good. And then, of course, we can just do the regular stroke, or all the same strokes that we had here, like the same U shapes. Oh, and I didn't show you, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you how to do the U shape the second way. The second way is to set the beginning and the end of the U, and then you're just trying to connect them. And the same way if we are going the opposite direction, like the upside down. And this allows you to have both edges, hard edges, clean edges, because as you can see, when you just do the brush strokes, the edges can be not as clean and not as nice. But sorry, back to the loading the brush with two colors. And this opens up a nice options to drawing flowers. And here you can actually just experiment. You don't have to follow guidelines, but those are more complex brushstrokes that I will be showing in another video, or you can use YouTube. There are dozens of really talented one stroke artists, and they are just doing and showing it amazingly. I will be just showing the basic. That with this you can do the waves, you can do again the petals, but you are just setting the boundaries again for the petal, and then you can do it like a petal like this, or it can be a different petal with different shape, like a more interesting one. And of course the experts, they're doing it perfectly in one stroke. I'm not a one stroke artist, so I cannot really do that perfectly, but the principle is that you exploring the curves and the two colors together blending, and you can make different petals and different shapes and then go back and assemble them all together and make a nice flower. But as you can also see, it means that we just did this very curved brush strokes with a flat brush. So we didn't use round brush, because I think for many beginners, their ideas and the perception is that if it's something round, we need to use round brush. Or if it's something thin, we need to use round brush. But as you can see, you can do just fine with one flat brush of different sizes. And also what I wanted to show is that sometimes we are making an underpainting or a wash before we are painting a landscape or a portrait. And a flat brush is perfect for making washes. It's when you dilute the paint really well and you just cover the area with a wash, the diluted paint color. And as you can see, the flat brush is doing it really well. There is no visible brush strokes, and that is perfect. This is quite intense color that you probably won't be doing the wash this intense, but this is just to show. And another way that the flat brush is beneficial is to do precisely hard edges. So let's say you have something geometrical in your painting, or if you are doing a mixing chart or making swatches for your paints, they are normally geometrically shaped, like squares or rectangles, and it's easier to color them, to cover them with a flat brush, because you can just set the tip of the brush at the borders, and using a lightly wetted brush, you can cover the inner area of a shape very easily, and it will be a nice clean coverage with hard edges. And of course it doesn't have to be like outlining the shape. It can be just that you need to block out some colors in your painting, and then you will be doing the same way. You will be using the flat brush to make all the edges really clean, hard edges, that's what we call them. So, and that's it for me today. I have a link to the worksheets that you can just print and practice all of this basic and not really basic brush stroke, and I hope it helps in your painting. Thank you.